Digital radio. What's that all about then? It's not digital in terms of quality, in terms of amateur radio. It's digital in terms of being more robust, more error-proof. We can apply lots of error corrections with digital signal. It's just not possible with analog signals. So, in terms of modes, and I'm on FT4 at the moment, which is interesting because I don't normally work it. Let's take FT4. So what do we have? First off, I have FLDigi, which you may or may not need. For the Jaeger radios, you need it to get it to work properly, to get the level of control. Very simple setup, really. This is only controlling the frequency, the mode, transmit, receive, and a few other features. So there we are. I have to set it up as G90. That's my port, that's my baud rate, and those are the settings that I need. It allows me to control the radio from WSJT-X or FLDigi or other programs that require cat control. For most radios you can do it directly within the setup. So with radio I have to have FLDigi selected, but you could select your radio if it's listed or an equivalent model. The first thing we've got is the RF frequency. So the RF frequency is 704.7.5 on the 40 metre band. That is sort of the bottom end. Everything on digital radio is USB, regardless of what band it's on. That's slightly alien, I know. This is the audio spectrum, and as you can see we're picking up signals here, 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 a bit there, a splattering there, a splattering here and here. It seems to be drawing the letter P, but there we go. Some people do strange things, but sometimes there's a reason why. It works on 2 different time cycles, each of which is 7.5 seconds long on FT4, 15 seconds on FT8 and 2 minutes on whisper, for reasons that will become apparent. The way that we make a signal more robust is to send it slowly. If we slow the data down, we can withstand worse signal to noise ratios. So I can control the audio input and it will get ready if I turn it to high. But as long as we're within a decent range on here, just controlling it with the audio out on the rig. The audio out on the rig is going into a USB dongle into my PC. You could use the PC's mic or aux socket. That will work perfectly, but then I couldn't be talking to you through a microphone, so I like to have a separate dongle. When we transmit, the audio is generated by this particular program, WSJT-X or FLDigi or whatever you're using. That goes back out through the audio dongle or audio card into the radio, and that will transmit. So you'll notice that I'm not actually tuned to any of the frequencies. That's fine. This is showing a representation of all the audio frequencies we're receiving. So if you added that figure onto 704.7.5, that will give you the frequency. It does not concern us. This is fixed. We can just play with, think of this as a wave band, except that we're receiving everything in the band. So you can set your transmit and receive frequencies fine here, or coarse, and you can copy them up or down with these buttons. So I'm going to do the obvious thing and hit Enable TX, and I've got my CQ setting set up. That's the default setting at the bottom. Should we receive somebody, it will automatically punch the numbers into here with their DX grid. It will pick up on their receive frequency automatically, and it will put their call sign and signal reports into these fields for you. Yes, it's a lazy mode. It'll do a lot for you. Now, I've not done a lot with FT4. Did a couple of contacts last night, and that was the first time. FT8 I use a lot. So we'll try it and see what happens. And the purpose of these digital transmission modes, in all their different guises, and every one is different, has different propagation characteristics, different resilience to signal to noise ratios and QRM, and we've got DH9ET straight away. That's great. Don't know where he's from, but I do have Grid Tracker installed and ready to go. So DH9 is in Germany. And that was very quick. You saw how fast that went down. So I've got his details, the start and end of the transmission, my report, his report, didn't send me a grid, never mind. Some notes about what radio I'm using and some comments about what antenna I'm using that I can send to him, and later we'll upload them to qrz.com's log. So that's fine. If I chose to pick a contact, and I didn't, if I choose to pick him and re-enable the TX, it disables it automatically at the end of every transmission, so that you are only contacting people that you want and manual intervention is needed, unlike Whisper, which can work in a fully automated mode 24/7 if you want it to, legally, certainly in the UK. So these are other signals that I've received over that are sending CQs. So I can filter these different ways: maximum distance, minimum frequency, maximum frequency. I can apply all sorts of filters. I will get all sorts of other things on here. We can change our pins. This is only showing the live contacts at the moment, so I can make it show the logbook and logbook and live. So you can see all the countries I've worked, and if I zoom out enough, you'll see the Azores, and there should be one in Florida. Maybe it's too long ago now. But I have contacted Florida, Iceland, and a few other places. Hey, we've got another one, IK1. So I'm still transmitting to this other guy, so I'll turn that off so it finishes. Double click on him or her, and we'll activate that transmission. So conditions are good tonight, 20, 40 and 10 metres very active. So we're on 40 at the moment. We'll certainly have a look at the others. And there we go, it's now, wow, that was fast. It's worked its way down the sequence, and they're in Italy. Yeah, so we can get the details there. I just allow the sequence to finish before we start logging anyone else. So let's just pick somebody in France and enable TX. So I'll just demonstrate another one for you. It's a manual intervention rather than just letting it do CQ and respond. Now I have multiple configurations set up. The reason being that sometimes you need a different display or different settings. You can change mode, but then you have to recalibrate frequencies and things. And if you've set up different settings for different bands or different modes, then you would have to set them again. And there we go. F6 ARS has come straight in. There's the transmission. And again, because it's only a 7.5 second mode, we're rattling through 7073s. Thanks very much. Let that transmission finish. And then we'll go to a different mode. There we go, that's now finished. He's moved on to somebody else. So if I go switch to, I'll get a very similar setup because the two modes are very similar. Now need to select the right frequency. That's red because it's wrong. So I need to go to 7074. I can turn the gain down a little bit. So I like to be around 60. Have a quick look at the audio band up here and see where there's a free slot. Unlike some people who just trample all over you because they didn't wait. And somebody's up there where I am, so I'm going to move up here to 1300. If I hold the control key down, it'll move transmit and receive together. If I just hit left click, it'll just move the receive. And again, I can tweak it here, so I want to be on 1450 and copy that down to there. And now I don't, because I realise that frequency is occupied. So let's go somewhere else. Let's go up here, 1600. And we'll do a CQ. So this is FT8. It works on a 15-second cycle. We are transmitting. And it actually transmits your signal twice within a 15-second period. You need to have your time synchronized. I use dimension 4 for doing that. So I'm accurate to within a second, and it's updated every 15 minutes. The longest you should leave it is an hour for updates. If you have difficulty decoding, this will be one of the reasons why. It's just literally the decoder is not hitting the right part of the signal. These frequencies do go berserk when I'm transmitting, due to a variety of reasons that we won't go into. And sometimes, you can sit here and transmit for 20 minutes and only get 1 or 2 contacts. As you saw on FT4, we were lucky, we got about 3 within 11 minutes. And that was while I was talking and setting it up. If I was focusing on it fully, we could have been in there earlier. So although there's more signals on here, we're actually having less success. Okay, so I wanted to show you a few of my tools of choice for working with propagation and logging. Now there are many tools available. These are just the ones I've decided to work with so far. So I have my profile on qrz.com, nothing unusual about that. Good place to start, a little bit about me, visitors to my page, and the best part really is that for me is the logbook. I misread that this morning. I thought it said Carlos Santana. I thought, flipping heck. But yeah, the logbook is on here. That's just a section of it. If I go to my logbook, you can see the full thing. So I've only been religiously logging for a few months, really. I never found a way of doing it easily, but there is a way of doing it easily, and I'm going to show you what it is. So quite simply, if you've got an account with qrz.com and you've verified it, all you have to do is go to Import from ADI file, read this about is it able to ignore duplicates if an existing record has been confirmed. Duplicates are the people with the same call sign, mode, band, date and QSO start time within a minute. Now this requires your calls to be confirmed by the other person. So it sends them a notification which they will, if they notify QRZ as well, or if this sends a notification to them to validate it. You can choose to have a report sent, so if you're doing a large batch you might want to do that to make sure. All I do really is keep my eye on that number and make sure it increments. Now, it's in your user profile, app data, local WSJT-X, and the way that you can find that if you don't know where it is, it's not that, it's by doing this. All you have to do is go File, Open Log Directory, and it opens on a monitor you can't see. But that's where it is, and you can copy that path. Simple as that. So having selected that, we go Choose File. It'll only work with the ADI file. And then import it. It only takes a second to upload. So that's on 339 at the moment. And when it refreshes, if we go back to the logbook, we haven't got any additional ones. No, that's probably because I did it this morning and I haven't worked any contacts since. The star indicates that they have confirmed your details. In the comments section in WSJT-X, you can add extra details there to give a little bit more about you. And if you want to look somebody up, you can double click on them and then it gives you more information about them. There's their QSL card. And there you go. That's really useful. QRZ.com is a great place to start. I've only got a free account. There are other ones you can use like EQSL that require a small subscription. ARRL.org if you're American, but is also valid for other users as well. And there are quite a few QSL services of different types. The only thing QRZ charge for are XML logbook data and access to the API. But if you don't mind loading up your log files, I don't tend to do it at the end of every session, but you could do it once a week, not a big deal. That's the main one. This one, pskreporter.info, slightly misleading name because it doesn't just do PSK. It was so popular when they did it for PSK. Flipping heck, I'm getting stateside. So this is from a session I didn't record this morning. I bet you could go back. Oh, you can't. You can only go back 24 hours. Did work a few last night, but not on that band. No matter. So you can set this up to show all bands, or you can focus on a particular band. I'm normally on 40. Set it up to show signals that I've sent. So who can hear me is what I'm interested in. I'm only putting out 5 watts. If you're putting out 100 watts, the chances are a lot more people will be able to hear you. And it would have been dark when I started this probably. So you can all set it to what I've received from my logs. They don't show up quite the same way, but you can see the Pac-Man here is showing the directions in which I'm being heard, and I was heard in Iceland some hours ago, 8:50 GMT. There we go, in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm pointing at it so you can see here. And then you can do it by grid square and what have you for contacts in general. Obviously enter your own call sign if it's you're interested in. You can tune it to different modes, so if you work in different modes like Olivia, PSK, you can set that up accordingly. I don't bother because I only work a couple of modes as a rule, but that's a great resource. If you happen to be working Whisper, WSPR, which is another low power mode, Whisper does not record who's picking you up, it only records you transmitting, but you can see who can pick you up on here. So same sort of thing again. I haven't worked Whisper for a while, but you set it to the band you want, Whisper, your call sign, use yours, not mine, 53 minus 1.3. Don't put too much precision on that, otherwise you'll know where I live. And update. It's not going to pick anything up because I haven't had any reception. Don't worry about the blank screen. Both of those two sites, PSK Reporter and WhisperNet, will refresh every few minutes. So if you suddenly start receiving, if it starts getting logs from other people receiving you, it will go back to the map and it will start working. So that's 3 of them. DX Heat I did mention. Now there's a few areas about this that I haven't figured out yet, but that's the home page, and all I use it for is DX cluster. And you can select a band, which just happens to be on 40 meters at the moment, but you could pick a different one. You could pick 20 only. Do you want all contacts, all modes, Digi, phone, CW, or all? So you can see all the activity on a band, which is really useful. And from the flags you can work out where the hotspots are. And 20 meters is looking good at the moment. So I'm based in Europe because I input my location. So this is working off other people's reports, a bit like Google Maps does with the traffic. It works out who's sending reports of the traffic being slow in an area. So we've got Europe, North America, South America, Asia, Africa, and Oceania. So obviously red is a hot spot. That's great. That's the number of spots from DX stations in the last 60 minutes. So if you're hoping to work, if you're in Europe and 20 is open, but you want to work North America, I reckon 20 meters, 15 or 10 is going to be the place to be. You want to work Asia, you need to be on 10 or 20, and if you want to work oceanic, 17. So there's a lot of things you can play around with on this. If you want to log a call sign, somebody has to log that they've received you. So I've only logged one contact basically, but I could log all my contacts. I could probably import them. But that's a good tool, no mistake about that. It means I could, working digital modes, I can just come here, go, that band, straight on that band, that's where I'll start. Yes, you could go further. You can do it for voice contacts as well. You could probably get logging tools that do it for you as well. Another tool I use is dxview.org. Never looked at the home page. That's probably why. It's definitely dxview.org. So the HF one, I said there's a HF and a VHF. I see. Never done that one before. But that was actually quite interesting. If I bother to let it load. So there we go. And it divides the signal types down into voice, digital and Morse. Not necessarily on the VHF one. And actually get a contact from over there. The HF one, basically I'm IO92. I'm 92, I'm here. Close enough. There we go. So it can do the calculation based on where I am. And I got really upset when it didn't report any stations, but apparently what you have to do is to click the band that you want to know about. So that's a very pale yellow. And you can see that on digital we could work most of Europe into Russia. On an SSB we could only probably work this area. And this is based on propagation, not line of sight. So you could probably work people in the UK on line of sight. And then on CW, these are the sweet spots that are being reported. Now it's all about what's being reported, it's not about what is theoretically possible. Amazing that we could get into whatever country that is, China, by the look of it. That would be very interesting. And into North America on CW. But we can do a quick comparison. We can have a look at 80. And it's dead. We can have a look on 20. And that's very active. So it's quite hard to see the difference between the colours here. But if you hover over them, it'll tell you whether it's SSB, digital, or Morse. So CW only for the States. 18 megs, 17 metres. So again, similar areas, but these will change according to time of day, temperature, weather, band, you name it. So I believe this works off reports, although I couldn't swear to it. As they don't appear to have a home page, it's going to be hard to figure out. It goes all the way up to 44 metres into Germany. And you could click up. I don't get that because you can't click all. And I don't know what MUF means either. Oh, there we go. So there's the overlay of them all. That's great. That really tells you stuff. And as you can see, there are some spots, some sweet spots floating around where people are doing reports. You know, so if you've got a decent output on HF, you get 15 metres, you could be into South Australia. That would be amazing. South America, there's a lot to look at. So that's the basics of that. And that's the same on VHF. Funny, I guess UHF doesn't really go far enough for it to be worth displaying. But those are some interesting tools. Feel free to suggest other ones in the comments. I'm still learning digital. There are so many different ways of approaching it. So it'd be really good to get some information off other people on their experiences. But I've been doing it for about a year and I thoroughly enjoy it. My voice contacts are still very limited, although I haven't really put the effort in because I've been so enthralled to be able to contact other countries using 5 watts and a bit of wire, you know, and an ACU. So I'm really happy to do that, but I want to take it to the next level, maybe get a linear amplifier and see how far I can really go and get some voice contacts too. But I'm living and learning, and with tools like this I've got a good chance of getting the voice contacts too. So that could be fun. Still can't find a home page. Oh, there we go. So people will know about the MUF, the highest frequency that supports communication between 2 points. So you can that is really, that's what that button is for. That's showing us the MUF. And there's some guides as well, which I've not read. I should read them. So there's some tools to get you started. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you pass comments. You know, let me know your tips if you've got a particular way of working. Looks like the band is still pretty active. I think I've closed WS. No, I haven't. So there's not much going on at the moment, but the bands are active and there's people out there to work, which I'll finish editing this video for you and then I'll get back on the air. I've also got some other videos lined up for you. I know I've neglected it for a while. I had some technical issues and it's not always easy to think of something to say, and I don't want to just sit here and talk about nothing. So I'm going to record a few more videos to do with the Raspberry Pi and amateur radio, and quite possibly a setup for the Pi 5 as well. Is it overkill for amateur radio? Could be just what we really need if you want to run a lot of programs. Yes, I did get one last week. Haven't done much with it yet, but we shall see. So, best 73s, and I hope you get out there and work some digital. There are so many modes to explore, and I'll be also looking at FLDigi in due course. I have tampered with it, or attempted to get contacts with it, but we'll see where that goes. So 73s for now. Take care of yourself.